Well, a very warm welcome to Day 4. On Day 4, we're going to focus on the smaller assets in the scene, the ones we want to take into Painter and perform material processing on. We'll start our work with the UV process, unwrapping, packing, and then move on to texturing in Painter, exporting for Unreal, and handling the final steps in Unreal together. The modeling section for these assets, since it doesn't have any specific challenges and didn't require special training, has been provided as time-lapse videos for you to watch. If you know the basics of modeling, you can easily review how to model these items through those videos. Let's get to the main work and the unwrapping process for these assets. I'll unwrap one or two of them for you, and for the rest, we'll pause the video and jump to the important stage of UV packing. Alright, the model I want to unwrap first is this one. Let's go here, click New, and then Send to Rhizome. Well, let's look at the unwrapping process. See, the unwrap process, especially for game assets, has a very fundamental point. As much as you can, try not to fragment your UV islands. It shouldn't be that, for example, you put a line through this top part and split it. To the extent possible, avoid letting that happen. Alright, we'll start by unwrapping these two sections first. I'll place a cut line here and use the similar option so that the cut line appears on the other side as well. I press C to cut, select both, then press U. And there, the unwrap is done. Now, let me tell you something. We don't really need to get so close to this part that we see it from this distance. But if that were the case, the best way would be to separate these UVs from this angle and isolate them like this. The reason is that it allows you to assign more detail during texturing, makes masking easier, and prevents any stretching in your UVs. Okay, let's do this for this part too. If we want this to happen very quickly, we select the right side and click Get Similar. It does the work for us automatically. I press P to pack, and it's done. Now I'll select these two, go to the Transforms menu, hit Straighten, they're level now, and then I'll press P again. Alright, we've managed to set up the unwrap for this section. Let's move on to the next parts. This model is a single piece. So what I'll do first is separate this front section like this. I select it and press U. Well, that's enough for me. It's a very clean unwrap. Let's move to the rest. What I'll do is repeat this on this side as well. Since the model is integrated and one piece, we can't use the Update Similar option. I'll press P to pack it. This packing is just to make the 2D view look a bit more organized. It's not our final pack that we're going to use. Okay, I'll select this part, isolate it again, and start selecting this edge. It's better to open this edge from this side first, right where we apply the chamfer. That middle line of the chamfer is the best place to set our UV cut. Because even if we want to apply Turbo Smooth later, the UV won't break. When a model deforms, these edges, thanks to the supporting geometry around them, ensure that our UV cut line stays stable. So, it's the best choice. Now, we've got some distortion in this UV section, and to fix it, we can open up the UV. How can we open it? We can use the UV itself to select two edges and then spread it open. It needs to reach the borders completely for it to open properly. Just that easily, we could have done this on the top edge too. Let me do that for you. See, it's totally doable. No problems. We could have placed the cut on this top edge, finding the equivalent on the other side and hitting U to open it up. Well, in any case, this opening technique is a way to keep our UV as a single piece in this section instead of splitting it, and more importantly, it prevents distortion. Alright, what I'll do is go back, or actually prefer the previous state. Alright, our UV is set correctly now. We'll pack it. Everything looks good. Let's move to the other side of this same model, since they're exactly alike. We have a loop going all the way around. We'll select our opening edge from this side, select, and cut. There's no hard rule for knowing which of these edges to pick. We're simply trying to relieve the tension on the UV. Through experience and some trial and error, you can find the best edge for the job. Okay, now both sides are fixed. I'll select the model again, focusing on the parts not yet UV'd, and press I on the keyboard. Let's move to the rest. We can handle the rest much simpler. The first thing I'll do is separate the top and bottom pieces. Alright, I'll start by selecting the bottom part. We can go around from here or select here. It's a simpler and faster selection for this section, and that's how we'll make the cut. Okay, it just needs to follow the topology of this section, like this. These double clicks I'm doing are to create loops, just like that. Okay, I'll add this section too. I press C on the keyboard, then F4, and I see this part is still not selecting correctly. Let's search for the reason. I think I found the issue right here. Alright, I press U on the keyboard. This is a good UV now. Why? I could have separated it strip by strip, but for a game, those strips would cause issues in the light map, and they would also mess up the texturing process. So I'm going to avoid doing that. Okay, let's do exactly what we did here for the top part as well. Alright, the top part is done the same way. I press U on the keyboard. Now we can pack these two very easily. I'll select this section again and press I. Now for the next part, what I want to do is separate these pieces from our main model. It should result in 8 UV islands, and I'll also set a cut line for the top section. To do this faster, I'll go into polygon mode, head over to the tools on the right, and in the select section, I'll set the polygon magic wand to planar mode. I'll set the angle to 20, so it selects faces within a 20-degree variance. This essentially means that if I move my cursor over a set of faces, the ones that turn white are faces where the angle difference is less than 20. If it's more than 20, it won't be included in the selection. This is great for selecting flat surfaces with minimal effort and maximum speed. Alright, we did that very quickly, and while the faces are selected in polygon mode, I'll press C on the keyboard once or twice. You can see the orange cut line has been added. Now we can go back to element mode, hit Ctrl A, then Ctrl Shift and click to deselect, and hit U. And that's the top part of these details UV'd. Alright, let's move on to the rest. The first thing I'll do is define the UV for this large main body, and then we'll work on refining the other parts from that UV. What I need to do is place an opening cut line for this body, since it's currently connected as a continuous loop. Now I'll go into edge mode, hit F2. I'll select here, then select this, and hit U. Well, the first thing you'll notice is that our UV island is extremely long, and these long islands cause problems in packing, like forcing all the other clusters to become tiny. To fix this, I'll go to the exact opposite side of the selected line, pick another edge, and now when we hit P, you can see it packs here with a much more reasonable size. I could have broken it down even further by putting cuts on all 4 sides, but I wanted to avoid that. What do we do for this part? Once again, we'll go into Magic Wand or Face mode and start selecting. Okay, I've selected this section, but the bottom part got included too. I can temporarily go to the Polygon Magic Wand settings and turn it off, then hold Ctrl Shift to reselect only the faces I want. This is just a different way to select a part of the model and topology for UV. I just hit C to create the cut, hit F4 to select, and then press U. That's one way. What's the other way? The next method is to select the first edge in F2 mode, hold Shift, and define the path. And just like that, I've separated this piece as well. Both methods work, and we use them as needed. Now that these parts are UV'd, I'll fix these other 6 sections too, and then we'll move on to saving and bringing it back into 3ds Max. Well, my UV work is finished for now. The only thing left is to press P on the keyboard to perform a full pack. We could dive into the packing settings and tweak things, but everything looks fine right now, no special adjustments needed. I'll just set the map resolution to 4096 because I'm planning on a 4K output in Painter. And then I'll measure the texel density here. The texel density I got for this object at 4K is 17. Let me give you two benchmark numbers here. For small objects like this that are going into Painter, you should aim for a minimum texel density of 10.24 and a maximum around 20.48. Now here's the thing. You might have several models. You pack them like this, and one ends up at 17, another at 14, another at 20, and another at 10. Do we need to do anything special? Within this 10.24 to 20.48 range, if the difference isn't massive, like this model at 17 and another at 15, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be exactly 15 or 17. Both are fine. You can move forward with your work. A problem only arises if one model is at 10.24 while another is at 20.48, and they're both equally important in the scene. That's when we need to merge our UVs or find another solution. Alright, since we've UV'd this, let's move to channels 2 and 3. Channel 2 is our light map. What we do is go into channel 2, you have to double-click it so the name appears at the top. Then select channel 1, hit copy, and it clones our UV islands from channel 1. Now we'll set this to 512, margin to say 8, padding to 16, and then we'll hit pack. Now even though this object is going into Substance Painter, I'm still defining a UV channel 3. Why? It's a very important point, so please pay close attention. The reason for channel 3 on a Painter-bound asset is that I want to add a dirt effect to all my objects in the material paths, and I want that dirt to appear with the same quality and the same scale across every single object. That's when we say, look, all the large models we've worked on so far have their materials on channel 3. And if we set up a channel 3 for these small assets with the exact same specs as the large ones, we can use channel 3 consistently for everything. If we don't, then the effects we apply, like a dirt mask, will vary in quality and size. So the best approach is to create a UV channel 3 for this asset. Copy it from channel 1 and first enter channel 3 so the label at the top confirms we're in the right place. Select channel 1, copy, and then, just like our large assets, set the resolution to 2048 and the texel density to 20.48. In the pack settings, set optimization to none, scaling to TD, and overflow to put on top and right. Okay, let's hit pack. Alright, it's packed. You might be confused here, thinking, why do we have channel 3 if we already have channel 1 for Painter and we've already set our texel density? Channel 3 might never be used directly on this specific asset, but it's mandatory. Why? Because you might want to apply global material effects across all your assets. There needs to be a common ground where assets share identical data. In channel 3, regardless of whether the asset goes to Painter or the engine or uses tilables, we have a UV set based on a 2048 size and 20.48 texel density. So keep this in mind. We must define a UV channel 3 for our assets, whether they're heading to Painter or being textured directly in Unreal or our game engine. It's a standard that allows us to implement changes later if needed. Since you're the one doing the modeling, the UVs, and the asset creation, you're providing the material or environment artist who might work on these later a designated space to say, whatever you need to do it on this UV. That's it. So, UV channel 3 is mandatory. And just like I explained for channel 1, to fit everything in this space while maintaining a proper texel density, we got the number 17. And since I want 4K outputs in Painter, I set the map resolution to 4K, packed it, and reached that value. We'll discuss this more later. In channel 3, what we did was apply the universal standard for all models, 2048 resolution and 20.48 texel density. Please don't mix these up. They're two completely separate concepts. Okay, this one is finished.